Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I am so thankful for you all. I'm also thankful for the people who keep me updated on the forums, specifically Brian Shadowstrike, who continues to be my man in the chair, unless he's not in a chair when he sends me those links. I don't know. So I don't use on offense either of these skilled champions. I use Zemo for defense, and I thought it'd be fun to rank up for synergy purposes with Agent Venom, Kraven. And so both Kraven and Agent Venom are rank 3. That's probably where they're going to stay. If you missed it, though, I did in the last 24 hours a video where we had 2 separate requests because of a change to root, specifically for Kraven and Baron Zemo. Now, I guess Kabam read through that forum post, and it was very lengthy, and came through with some feedback of their own. So let's blacken the screen, bring back the root situation, and hear from Kabam drop the mic. Hey everybody! As many of you might know, there was recently a bug fix that went out without the level of communication necessary that affected how champions react when rooted. First, we want to apologize for the situation. It was not our intent to leave any of this information out of our release notes or make any changes silently. We do not purposely make silent changes to the game, but there are processes in place that, in this case, didn't work, and this information was not disseminated the way it should have been. Now, I will say this. Even though they've done it enough over the years to where I kind of roll my eyes when I hear them say this, because I think, yeah, you're going to have to say this again in like a couple months, because something is going to be changed without talking about it in the patch notes. Or what used to happen is that it would be referenced like in one small bullet point buried at the bottom of the patch notes without specifics. And then once you saw what the point actually meant, you went, wait, what? That's a fix? Since when? So, that's another way to handle it that I don't think really works well. Instead of asking the devs a bunch of questions and then translating them into communications for you, I've asked the developers directly to write something up and share it with you. This covers why we made these changes and where we messed up on the communication process. Alright, history of the bug and identifying it. Back in January, as Zemo was heading out the door, someone made an offhand comment about how the defender's heavy bias, while rooted, seemed really reliable in keeping the opponent from throwing specials, to the point where they couldn't remember if it ever not working. No AI bias should ever be 100%, and that was not the intent with which we had been building characters. Our engineers informed us that root fully special locked the defender, preventing all 3 special attacks, and always had. This was a problem because there is a big difference between designing a character that reduces specials and grants openings, and designing a character that prevents them, or in this case, prevents all openings. Zemo in particular had the most aggressive use of the mechanic yet because we were evaluating it in the former terms and not the latter. As a team, we knew a change was necessary, but had to decide what change to pursue. There were some good arguments made in favor of removing the special lock entirely and leaning on the very high, heavy bias already present, since that was the original intent behind the mechanic. We decided against this because, as we said earlier, no bias is ever 100% reliable, and instead chose the middle ground of leaving the AI bias alone, preserving the inability for the defender to throw special attack 1 or 2, and just unlocking their special 3. This account may cause some confusion, because root didn't used to cause the defender's power bar to gray out, a visual we normally associate with special locks, and now does. This was an accidental knock-on of the prep we needed to do for the change, but the change below 3 bars is exclusively visual. Some of you may also wonder why defenders could break out of Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme's root before if root prevented all specials. And that's actually because there was a 0.1 second delay before his root activated to allow for VFX to kick in, during which the defender could activate a special because of the way Special 3 animations work. We've actually replaced this delay with an invisible special lock to make his root mechanic more consistent in other characters and easier to use. Probably a typo there. How did we miss this? First, we announced that Zemo was bugged via the Trello board as quickly as we could. This is why we have created that board. I don't even know what the Trello board is. So we can share identified bugs as soon as we know about them, regardless of it. We know what the resolution will be. At the time, we were still having conversations about how broad the fix needed to be, and so the listed bug only referred to Zemo. At the time, we were unaware of the extent to which players were relying on the existing interaction to use Kraven, or we would have mentioned him by name as well. It was very much our mistake for not understanding that, and we apologize. That's a nice apology sentence. When we did ultimately make the call that we were going to be fixing all root effects, we should have updated that post, but didn't have systems in place for doing so. We'll be amending our internal tracking process to make sure that the Trello board is better up to date with new developments going forward. I just personally want to see everything in an in-game message. That's where I check. Not the forums, but the in-game inbox. Second, we decided not to discuss this in Zemo's rebalancing post because we sincerely did not consider it to be part of his rebalancing process. This is, in retrospect, another mistake on our part. Okay, if they're acknowledging that they made a mistake regarding Zemo's rebalancing to the point that it affected how people played with Zemo, which is what I'm taking from this, how is that not justification for a rank down ticket? Lastly, we missed this change in the most recent patch notes. Writing patch notes is a very collaborative process that requires many different teams working together, and it's easy for something to slip through the cracks. We will be reevaluating the way in which we collect information for our patch notes in the future to help ensure that something like this doesn't slip through the cracks again. Root in the future. Moving forward, this is how we intend for all root effects to function unless otherwise specified, and we'll be expanding the in-game glossary to clarify as much. Rooted defenders will be more likely to perform heavy attacks and unable to activate special attacks 1 or 2. And any root that does not match this behavior should be considered to be bugged unless stated otherwise. That's tricky too, because if something seems to be bugged, does that give Kabam the license 6 months down the line to say, oh yeah, it's always been bugged, even though we haven't talked about it? That's part of the problem, right? Reminds me of the Mole Man situation from last year. Because this bug was publicly announced via the Trello board during the 3-month window where Zemo was subject to change, we do not plan to issue any rank down tickets for him. I don't know if I would use him or use those on him. I'd probably keep him at rank 4. But that logic doesn't seem sound at all to me. Nor do we plan to offer any for Spider-Man, who is actually stronger after this change than before. However, because Kraven is an older champion... There's so many typos in this. Kraven is an older champions, should be singular, and was not mentioned as affected by this bug in the past. We do plan to offer rank down tickets to anyone with a ranked up 5 or 6 star Kraven as of the time of this post. Only those that have ranked up Kraven prior to this message going live will receive those rank down tickets, so please do not rank up Kraven expecting a rank down ticket. In the future, we plan for these to go out before the end of the month. Once again, we apologize for misunderstanding around Kraven and for the failures in communication, and we'll be making process changes to prevent repeats. I mean, it's mostly good, but the explanation for Zemo, and again, I'm not sure anybody is going to write down Zemo. He's still good, but it just seems like that logic is flawed. Well, Kraven, you got your rank down tickets. Zemo, better luck never. I don't know. It won't be a next time. Either way, thanks for watching. Have a good one.